Hello and welcome, Earth signs. Earth signs being Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Welcome to your week ahead TarotScopes with me, Intuitive Rene. We are doing the week of the 3rd to the 9th of July 2023 using these two amazing decks. We are going to work with the Healing with the Fairies Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. These cards I've had in my collection for many years. Not a deck I use very often, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and we're going with the whole fairy faith theme this week. So we're going to start off with the Healing with the Fairies Oracle, and we're also going to use the Forest of, excuse the birds going past, oh my gosh, they are so loud, Forest of Enchantment Tarot by Linnea Weatherstone, and the illustrated by Mirella Elwood. So two beautiful decks that we're going to be working with. Let me get these boxes out of the way so that we can make space for all the gorgeous stuff. So Earth signs, here I have the Oracle. We're starting with the Oracle first. Going to give the cards a shuffle. And as I shuffle these cards, we're setting the intention that we get a card that is valid, relevant, and appropriate for all Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, giving insight into the theme for the week ahead, or the main focus for the week ahead. So what is the one thing that all Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, need to keep in mind for the week ahead? What does the week ahead have in store? And then we will get detail on that from the tarot. Actually, I'm happy with that shuffle. Let's cut the deck. And taking one card. Let's put those away and let's have a look, Earth signs, and see what is your focus for the week ahead. And the card we have is, I love that, Happily Ever After. How fabulous is that? Happily ever after. You know, I did obviously the fire signs first, and what I did is after I drew the card, I actually read from the guidebook. But I don't know if I need to, because happily ever after, doesn't that just say everything that it needs to say? Doesn't that just, I mean, we don't need to add anything to that, but let's see what the guidebook says. So the guidebook says, and let me do this. Hold it there so that you can at least see the little pretty. So the card meaning, it says, a happy outcome is assured. Release any anxiety and feel secure that everything is resolved in the end. So this is a reassuring card, signaling that the movie that you are currently starring in has a very happy ending. Situations that appear sticky are miraculously resolved, misunderstandings are forgiven, and mistakes are forgotten. You are urged to stop worrying about the future, as your fears could be self-fulfilling in a negative way. You could literally sabotage heaven's happy plan for you if your worries are excessive. So, go outside in nature and ask the fairies to help you rejoice in the perfection of creation. Your joy renews your faith and ensures the happy outcome that is in store for you. I love that. And there is an affirmation that you can use every day, all day, whenever you need, to remind yourself about happy ever after. And the affirmation is, everything is in divine and perfect order right now. Everything is in divine and perfect order right now. How wonderful is that? Good. Happily ever after. Here I have the tarot, and it is the Forest of Enchantment tarot. Let's give it a shuffle and let's see what happy ever after looks like. Let's see for all Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. What does happily ever after look like for you this week? Or what is the stress that you need to release, the anxiety and the stress that you need to release in order to have happily ever after? Because that's what the message in the guidebook said, isn't it? It said that happily ever after is going to happen for you. But if you stress, panic, and get fearful, if your anxiety is too much, it's going to prevent you from experiencing, enjoying your happily ever after. Okay. Cutting the cards. Right, card number one we have is the Three of Boons. I have to squash them because I need to fit in as many as we can. We also have Suspension. Okay, we have the Three of Boons, we have Suspension, we have Starlight, and I should fit one more in there. Oh, we have the Three of Visions. Love it, love it, love it. So, Three of Visions is I say it a lot in my videos, in my content, but I have two absolute favorite cards in the tarot deck. One of them being the Three of Boons, Three of Visions. The traditional card would be the Three of Cups, okay? But you've got two threes, and then you've got two major arcanas. So it is telling you that there is something big surrounded by daily detail. So let's have a look. Let's start at the beginning here. Three of Boons. So we've got happily ever after as our theme, as our vision, as our focus for the week ahead. And a Three of Boons. Boons in traditional tarot, for those of you who need, is pentacles. Now, when we look at the artwork, because, I mean, the artwork on this deck is just amazing. So here we have the lady who is making stuff. She's concocting a spell. She's putting something together. She's got a trusty helper. She's got another trusty helper. And the table is just full of all sorts of gorgeous ingredients. There's her little recipe. Well, actually, this little helper, he's the one who's writing her recipe down for her as she's putting things in. So he's passing. He's writing and she's doing, but each one has a different role, each one has a different function, each one contributes something different to the overall, but ultimately they're all working on the same project. But it is, I always say, when the Three of Boons comes up, teamwork makes the dream work. We cannot have happily ever after if everybody doesn't do their share, if everybody doesn't do the thing that they need to do, okay? So it's understanding the role that you play in the bigger picture and understanding that even though our crow is just writing the recipe down, that's still an important part, an important function of the bigger picture, because if the crow doesn't write things down, how can we ever replicate and do it again in perfect order? Okay, so happily ever after means that everything needs to happen, everybody needs to contribute, everybody needs to participate in order for you to have the happily ever after. So the Three of Boons is saying to you that understand that you can't do this on your own. Whatever this is, whatever it is that you're going through this week, you need the support and the help and the guidance and the cheerleading of everybody around you, okay, in order for you to have happily ever after. Teamwork makes the dream work. We then move on to suspension. Now, this particular card, if you imagine that this is a tree, and this is that amber resin tree sap, and here we have a person who has been trapped, caught in that tree sap and preserved for eternity. Okay, and we even have a little dragonfly, and we know that when we see dragonflies, it is a positive. It is a sign from spirit that all is pretty okay in your life. So suspension in traditional tarot is the Hanged Man, which is the card of saying to you, sometimes we need an upside down perspective in order to see things for what they truly are. Because when we look at things just, I'm going to say at face value, our preconceived notions and judgments and expectations and our history cloud our judgment, cloud our vision, cloud our outlook. But when something has been preserved, when something has been, in this particular case, preserved in tree sap resin, suddenly, you know, we can, 1,000 years later, we can actually look at a thing from a completely different angle, different vantage, to actually see what it really was. So suspension is basically saying to you that if this man didn't sacrifice himself, if this man didn't get himself caught in the tree sap, we wouldn't know what we know today about life back then. So it is archaeology at the core, but it's also saying to us today in modern times is that don't take anything at face value. So let's go back. Happily ever after is what is happening for you this week, is what is available to you this week. Understand the role that you play and the role that other people play in your life, but also don't take things at face value. Do not assume that the crow is writing things properly. Do not assume that your little fella in the background is handing you the right ingredients. If you are the lady who is stirring and asking and putting and telling, you've got to check that everybody is doing. Don't assume anything. Look at everything from a completely different perspective and a completely different angle. If your recipe doesn't work out the first time, don't give up. Don't give in. Try again. Keep going, but don't keep trying it in the same way, expecting different results. Because that's what suspension is saying. We need to look at things differently. We need to come at it from a completely different perspective, completely different angle in order to have our happily ever after. And then next, we have Starlight. Who doesn't love looking at the stars at night? So here we have a couple of fairy folk, fae folk, who are sitting. They found a clearing, they're high up in the trees, they're quite safe, they're quite secure, and they are just, I mean, jaw open in awe of the beautiful starlight that we have. You know, and sometimes, and I speak for personal experience, when life has been a little bit tough, a little bit difficult, a little bit hard, and we're feeling a little bit vulnerable, go outside at night and just look up at the stars, and suddenly everything comes into perspective. Because for me personally, when I look at the stars and I think, gosh, and my little problem, my little disagreement, conflict, argument, challenge, whatever it is so insignificant in the vast scheme of things. It helps you to put things into perspective, just as suspension is, just as happily ever after is, okay? But starlight is telling you that everything's going to be okay. Because when we look up at the stars and we realize how big this universe is that we live in, when we realize how, I don't want to say how insignificant we are, but how insignificant we are, and how much more there is that we don't know, it puts things into perspective. But it also tells us that everything's going to be okay. It gives you that moment of exhale, of just, you know, being in the now, being in the moment, and not being like over analytical and over anxious and overstressed and anything like that. So starlight, star card, is telling you that everything's going to be okay, but just breathe in this moment, in this space right now. Just breathe and just know that everything's going to be okay. But we do need to look at things differently. We need to make sure that everybody's doing, understand that you don't have to do it on your own, and happily ever after is definitely your birthright. And let's go to my favorite card in the tarot system. And here we have three absolutely gorgeous bears who are smiling. I mean, have you ever seen a bear smile? Of course you have. Look at that. So here we have the Three of Visions, the Three of Cups. We have the bears. They are by a little stream. They've got flowers. They've got berries. They've got everything that their hearts desire. And they are celebrating life. They are celebrating the good times. The Three of Visions is the card of celebration, of joy, of coming together with the people who matter in your life, the people who bring joy, the people who bring abundance, the people who bring happiness into your life, celebrating, acknowledging. And we don't just celebrate because, oh, well, let's celebrate. There's always a reason to celebrate in this particular case. And the reason to celebrate is happy ever after, successful job, project, goals, ambitions, dreams, because we looked at things differently. We remained positive, we remained hopeful, we remained optimistic, and that gives us reason to celebrate. So I'm going to say to you, Earth signs, this week, 3rd to the 9th of July, whenever you're watching this video, whether it be the day it's released, which is the 2nd of July, whether you're watching it on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, whatever it is, why don't you plan a fun activity, a celebration of some kind for the following weekend, the weekend of the 8th and the 9th of July. Plan an activity, plan a fun thing. Invite people over to celebrate happy ever after. Happy ever after doesn't always mean the end of your story either. Okay? Happily ever after just means that everything right now is in such a good space that there is going to be reason to celebrate. There is going to be positive in your life. So celebrate it, acknowledge it, enjoy it. Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, thank you for being with me today. Thank you for your love and support. And as always, wishing you an amazing week with love and blessings from my heart to yours. And until we connect again, take care.